Hey guys, what's going on? So in today's video, I'm extremely excited and honored and privileged because my buddy at Iron Boots, he actually sent me this pair of boots right here to review. I am blown away. So this is in Maryam Brown Shell Cordovan. Can you believe it? Look at those. Are those stunning or what? So this is my third Iron Boots video. I actually have two other Iron Boots videos already. One on their monkey boot. This is their T monkey boot. I did a review on these. These are in size 9E. I was talking with them and they were actually surprised that the 9Es fit me so well because they usually recommend going down a half size. Now I could see that being the case with this particular model. So this is the 5515 model. It's on a completely different last than the T monkey boots, as you can see. So the 5515s are in a size 8.5E, and you can see there just a completely different shape. The 5515 is a lot more boxed out at the toe. I think it's a beautiful last, and these fit me perfectly. These also fit me perfectly, but these are a little bit more narrow, and I also have the Iron Boots in rosewood Scotch grain, and that is in their FLT model. So it's a completely different last, very sleek, dressy last that boot is built on. And that one's also in a 9E, fits me perfectly. I wouldn't go down at all from there. In my last couple of videos, I recommended going true to size and maybe even up a width because the lasts do seem to run small. But then I got these, and these definitely do not run small. So definitely go down a half size in these. Maybe do the E width though. Like I said, I'm a 9 Brannock, and these absolutely fit me phenomenally, these 8.5Es. But again, that's because the last is just so different. Let's look at these boots. Let me read a little bit about these. So he's actually using this pair in this year's Stitch Down Patina Thunderdome. He said, "I will test a pair of new 5515 in brown shell cordovan from Maryam Tannery in Italy. Yes, I finally got Kai to give shell another try. This shell is relatively soft, but I will still spend this dome to test it out. If this pair can pass the dome, we will open up a GMTO to celebrate." Wow. So about Iron Boots. Iron Boots are fully handmade by our bootmaker Kai and 5 teammates together in a small studio in Guangzhou, China. They were built in hand welted or hand stitched down with channeled insole construction, which are stronger and last longer than normal Goodyear welted shoes and boots made by machines. Each pair is 100% hand welted, hand lasted, hand bottomed, and also hand sewn to outsole stitch. They have about 10 stitches per inch. They use a wool filler instead of cork. They use a leather shank instead of steel. Veg tan leather welt, leather insole and midsole from Italy. Lead time's about 3 months. They recommend sizing down a half size. So this is built on the 5515 last. Yes, I definitely recommend going down a half size for this last. Like I said, the FLT, I found that to be true to size. The Iron Boots T-Monkey, I think that's pretty true to size as well. You'd probably be good going down a half though, because with the monkey boot, the width is so variable due to the positioning of the panels and how they interact with the laces and all that. But let me go over the specs on these. Once again, this crazy 5515 last, it's got like this corner here and then a rounded out toe on this side. It's just beautiful. I think it's really attractive. It's almost square, but it's not a square toe. And talking to some of my friends, particularly Jimmy from Nerdin' with Boots, otherwise known as Trinity Handmade, he pointed out that this particular 5515 last looks like it's based on the Munson Last, which is also the same last that Viberg bases their 2040 last on. This is an article from Russell Moccasin, and they did a whole write-up on the Munson Last, and I found it pretty fascinating, so I'm going to read some of that here. So it says, "Nature rebels against shoes not shaped for comfort. The adoption of the special last for outfitting our armies with footwear has given all of us an opportunity to study the problems and logistical reasoning in overcoming a great deal of foot troubles. In 1922, R.B. Slatter walked 1,800 miles from Vancouver, British Columbia to Alaska and back to Atlin, British Columbia in a pair of Russell Ike Walton boots made on a Munson Army last, covering the distance in 153 consecutive days. As you can see, the front of the Munson Army last, which is number 1, provides more room in the toe area than the other shoe lasts do. Each has its application, but the roomier Munson last provides a non-restrictive environment for the foot to do its work. By design, shoes and boots made on the Munson Army last snug up the arch and heel when the boot or shoe is laced up, providing a totally different feel than other shoes. So why a Munson Army Last? The Munson Army Last has been around since 1912, named after its inventor Edward Luman Munson. Lieutenant Colonel, Medial Corps, United States Army, the Munson Army Last was adopted by the U.S. Army to enhance the fit and comfort of military boots issued to soldiers. The Munson Army Last was and is one of the few lasts that ever approached normal feet shape and contour. It was the view and understanding of Dr. Munson way back then that weakening of the foot muscles is one of the penalties of civilization, as walking is less and less a factor in locomotion. The introduction of railroads, streetcars, and automobiles has materially interfered with foot development. In 1912, Dr. Munson wrote, "The construction of shoes for civilians is influenced almost wholly by considerations of fashion and style. The lasts are devised by persons grossly ignorant of and quite indifferent to the structure of the human foot and its physiological requirements as a covering." He went on to say, "The perfect, undeformed foot is found only in children and among savage, non-shoe-wearing peoples." We are now more convinced than ever that Munson had the right idea, as this unique last provides more room in the toe area, which translates to greater comfort, better balance, and more power to the ground with less physical effort. And then so we've got a perforated cap toe here, absolutely beautiful. 4 brass eyelets, 3 brass speed hooks. These speed hooks are very hardy. There's no way you could cinch those down. Those are in place forever. The opening of the boot is very beautiful, actually, the shaft opening here. There's a lot going on, not only at the shaft, but on the inside. Well, I'll get to that in a second. We've got a roll top edge here, and this is in a Scotch grain leather, which is an embossed leather. It's got a really nice hand feel, really nice tactile feel. We've got a rough out on the tongue on the other side of the Scotch grain. So I asked Chang about the leather that they use for the tongue, and they said that it's actually a new leather that they are developing on their own, which is the Iron Boots Russian Grain Reindeer Leather. He says that Kai, the original owner, has seen the original piece and he wants to recreate the exact same grain. Is that incredible or what? I've never seen reindeer leather in real life. It's very thin and pliable, but beautiful to the touch. The Russian grain reindeer leather actually lines the inner eyelets here. You can see that along there. It's also, the Scotch grain also comprises this top rolled edge, as well as on the inside of the boot too. Lines all in there. And then it's unlined on the interior. Yeah, mostly unlined on the interior. We've got a really cool pull tab on the back here that's stitched in so you can't pull it off the boot. That's all in shell cordovan, beautiful. Got a back heel cap here, back heel strip, 2 separate pieces, super duper reinforced. Looks like we have a Cuban heel here. Yeah, it's also got a decorative stitching around the throat, double stitched decorative stitching, very beautiful. The inside of the boot is particularly captivating because on the inside, one thing I really like about Iron Boots is lining the back heel stay. I don't know what you'd call those, maybe staple stitches? They look like staples going down. It's really interesting, and that really reinforces the split at the back heel stay there. It's going all the way down. That must take forever to do something like that. And then in addition to that, the stamps on the inside. I can see made in Italy, Cordovan, made in Italy. And then in the right boot, I can see the stamp in there as well. Shell Cordovan, made in Italy. Shell Cordovan, made in Italy. Maryam Tannery. I can see the Maryam label in there. Yeah, the right boot is particularly pronounced. I love it. Then we have a Dr. Sole Original Super Grip. This is a grail boot for sure, right here. Would I love to have these? Yes, sir, when the dome's over, if you want to send me these, I will be more than happy to give them a good home. Just kidding. They're yours. I'll order my own. I've never seen Maryam shell before. This is my first time being around Maryam Tannery shell, and I'm very impressed. It's definitely different from Horween's shell cordovan. And actually, when I saw the colorway of the upper, it reminded me of a leather that I do have. So these are my Truman boots in Tuscanello horse rump. And initially I thought, yeah, the nice warm milk chocolate shade of the brown really reminded me of the Tuscanello when it was brand new. Now obviously this Tuscanello has taken a beating. I've worn them pretty hard over the last few years, and it's got all kinds of crazy scuffs all over it. When these Tuscanello horse rumps were brand new, the color looked a lot like the brown Shell Cordovan here. Now especially when I take it outside and I look at the color of the leather, it's clearly different now. And that's just a difference between how horse rump versus Shell Cordovan ages. If you're interested, I did a whole really long video on the differences between horse rump and Shell Cordovan. It was a really long geek out type video. It was fun to make, but I had to do a lot of corrections in that one. So I learned a lot in the process, which is always good. I just thought that was an interesting comparison, was comparing the Trumans to the iron boots. And now let's compare the Maryam Shell Cordovan to Horween Shell Cordovan. So these are my Grant Stone brass boots in Maduro Shell Cordovan. And probably one of my favorite pairs of boots. Probably what I would consider a grail boot by all intents and purposes. Real quick, let's get a sizing comparison. So this is Grant Stone 8.5D iron boots, 8.5E, and getting the heels lined up is kind of difficult because of this Cuban heel. However, I think I got it pretty well lined up. Yeah, it looks like the iron boots are a half size shorter than the Grant Stones in 8.5, but the width in the iron boots is there, and the width is where I always get hit if they're too narrow. The waist on the 5515 Last is obviously narrow here, this waist area, as compared to the Grant Stones, much more generous. This Floyd Last is one of the most comfortable lasts I've ever worn. Now, these iron boots, like I said before, they remind me of sort of Edward Green's lasts in a lot of ways. They're very curvaceous, very dressy, very sophisticated lasts, and they really grip to your foot in the right areas, you know what I mean? Whereas this Floyd Last is a very just generous overall fit last, to quote Brett Viberg. That's what I would characterize this Floyd Last as. So there are some differences between the shell, I can tell. The Maryam Tannery shell seems to be softer. It's probably a little thinner. I'm gonna pull a Rosanville here. I got my leather gauge here. This shell is 4.5 ounces, whereas the shell on the Grant Stones, 5 ounces. So yeah, so this shell is just a little thinner. That's okay, that's not a problem, that's not an indication of the quality. Some tanneries and some makers just like a thinner leather. They split it down, they shave it down a little further compared to others. And so yeah, the 5 versus 4.5 ounces is a difference that, you know, you can kind of tell a little bit. The Horween shell is a lot stiffer than the Maryam stuff. Again, that could be attributed to the weight. The Maryam shell, it's a lot more pliable. There's no pull-up to it. There's no pull-up on either. And obviously the shades of brown are different. So the Maduros are more like a, I'm gonna say 80% dark chocolate, whereas the brown Shell Cordovan from Maryam is more of a, probably a 35% milk chocolate, we'll say. Yeah, so the Horween stuff is a little bit more shiny on the surface, whereas the surface on the Maryam is just a little more matted. It's still very shiny. It's also not as translucent as the Horween stuff. The Horween stuff is pretty translucent. In certain lights, you could sort of peer into the depths of the leather, whereas on this stuff, there's no peering down past the surface. It's the grain is very much on full display. You know, sometimes when I look into Horween shell, it's like looking into a mirror or into a void. It's like I feel like I could see into the depths of it. Whereas with this stuff, not so much, very surface level. The Horween, just a little bit glossier. As far as how it's going to age differently, I don't know, because these are fairly new. These have not been worn very hard yet, and so time will tell. Follow Iron Boots on Instagram for patina updates. I'm sure they'll be posting pictures of these moving into the future. Comparing the Trumans, I could tell. Let's do a sizing comparison on the Trumans here. So these are Truman size 9 Iron Boots, 8.5E. Yeah, you can see the Truman toe is probably half size longer there. Definitely the Trumans are a little longer, but I'm comparing the wrong boots. Let's see. Let's compare the left boot to the left boot here. It's definitely going to be a little shorter on the Iron Boots. Again, Iron Boots 8.5E, Truman Boots 9D. Yeah, little size comparison. These definitely fit generously on me in the 9D, and these are definitely just a perfect fit on the 8.5E there. So hopefully that little bit of sizing information can help you guys if you're contemplating placing an order. Anyways, I am just blown away, just totally wowed by this pair of boots here. Thank you, sir, for from Iron Boots for sending me these. I will have these back on their way here shortly, or will I? I don't know. I was thinking, wow, these are so nice. These might be worth it to, you know, change my name and move to a different location and just keep them. But no, I would not do that. I'm a man of honor and integrity. I would never steal somebody's boots. I have enough behind me. That is going to do it for now. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Please leave me your thoughts of these Iron Boots, these incredible Grail Iron Boots, in the comments below. Give Iron Boots a follow. Hit them up if you're interested. They're a very nice company, made in China. They do everything by hand. I was talking to them. The shoe business is not an easy business. Even, you know, they charge a premium on these boots, and they're still not making like a whole ton of money. Every pair of boots you buy from this company, it's really helping out a small team of people, like 5, 6, 7 people. I think that's a very worthy cause, and you're getting a pair of fully handmade boots here. No corners cut on these, that's for dang sure. So anyways, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Leave me your thoughts in the comments below. And anyways, I will see y'all in my next video.